It's 7 o'clock, so I'm not sure where the mayor is, but we will go ahead and start the meeting without him, and hopefully he will join us later. So with that, we'll start the meeting for our Monday, June 12th, City Council meeting. We'll start with doing the standing and do the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Micah Beckwith is going to do our invocation this evening.
There. Sweet. All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for this day that you've made, Lord. We will rejoice and be glad in it. Lord, we just praise you for what you're doing in Westfield. And Father, I ask that you just give wisdom to this council. Thank you for the men and women who are serving our community so well and with just dignity and honor. And Lord, we ask that you would just give them boldness and courage to do the right thing. Father, thank you for your truth. Lord, help us to latch on to what you say is true. And Father, lead us down your path that will lead us into life everlasting. We love you. It's in Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Mike. Marla Ayler, would you please note the presence of a quorum?
Joe Edwards. Scott Willis.
Here.
Cindy Spoljarek. Here. Jake Gilbert. Mike Johns.
Here.
Scott Fry.
Here.
Troy Patton.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. First item on the agenda would be to announce any changes that have been made to the agenda. We've got two changes since it was published a couple days ago. We've added a discussion regarding the possible sale of Woodwind Golf Course. And the petitioner has asked us to remove ordinance 23-08, which dealt with the rezone of some property at 785 West 193rd Street. So those are the two changes that have been made effective today. The next item then would be the approval of the minutes from our May 8th meeting. Councilors, have you reviewed the minutes? Are there any changes or additions, deletions that you noted?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made to approve the minutes by Councilor Patton, seconded by Councilor Willis. Marla, would you please call the roll?
Scott Fry.
I abstain, I wasn't here.
Okay. Troy Patton.
Yes.
Scott Willis.
Yes.
Cindy Spoljarek.
Yes.
Jake Gilbert. Oh, he's absent. Sorry. Mike Johns.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Our next item this evening is the approval of the claims docket for June 12th, 2023. Councilors, do you have any questions regarding the claims docket this evening? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the claims docket for June 12th?
Motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made by Councilor Patton, seconded by Councilor Fry. Marla, would you please call the roll?
Cindy Spoljarek.
Yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes.
Scott Fry.
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Scott Willis.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on then to our first item, miscellaneous business, special recognition area category. First item is the Venezuelan cheat meal food truck, which has been located at 15164 Thatcher Avenue. It would like to extend its operations at this location for 2 months. And I believe that Caleb Ernest from Community Development is going to explain what this issue is about. Caleb, are you online?
I am here virtually, yes.
Thank you. So tell us about this.
Yep, thank you, President. So as you stated, the food truck has been operating at this location. They have been successful. They have had a lot of attendance, a lot of customer support. Members of the public have been supportive of the food truck. They've been operating very well here. The applicant, the food truck, has communicated with the department, with our department, that they are looking for a permanent location within the city. So, which is one of the main reasons they are asking at least for another 2 months so they can have some more time to help them to look for a permanent location. They do believe that having this additional time will help them in their search and there are no further complaints on our end.
And this food truck has been approved by the fire department with respect to safety and health, is that correct?
Correct. The fire department has performed an inspection, and it has passed that inspection, as well as the county health department has provided an inspection and approval as well.
Okay, thank you. Counselor, questions?
Have we reported all our sales and everything timely to the state for sales tax? Yeah. Yep,
Okay,
sounds good to me.
sounds good to me.
I struggle with this, and we have an ordinance that does prohibit this kind of thing, and my concern is that this kind of gives you guys a leg up that others don't have. And so the problem for me is the equity issue. And we've had other food trucks that have wanted to locate here and had a more, kind of transient to semi-permanent kind of situation, and, and we've told them no. And so it's very tricky for me. I did approve the last time you guys asked, and I've since, thought about it, and I've heard from different residents and different things like that. And it does concern me moving forward. And again, it's mostly because of the equity situation. I allow this for you, I have to allow it for everyone. And so that's my concern right now.
How long's the original permit for? What are we extending it from? How many months you guys been operating at that location? 1 month.
So this is Caleb Ernest, City of
That's why
Westfield.
you-
Go ahead, Caleb.
Unfortunately, we're operating for 1 month.
Caleb, how many days a week during the course of that month? Is it 7 days a week? I seem to remember it was
3 days per week.
3 days a week.
Yeah.
Okay,
All the weekend.
Correct.
okay, all right.
So you guys looking for a permanent space, or explain that to me so I can understand that better?
So yeah, we're trying to find something to rent that we can just move all we have in the food truck inside. So, but it hasn't been easy to find something located here where we want to be. So I think we need kind of more time to figure it out. So and
Well,
see, we just want to see it's been good for us. We have really good feedback of the community, of the people. So this was just trying to see if it's gonna be good, and now we think we can do it. So that's basically why we want more time to see if we can achieve what we want.
Hey, Scott, one thing to think about, and I know it's not the same always, but Big Hoffa's was around for 3 or 4 years at Culver's, or not Culver's, the custard place.
Yeah, Ritters.
What was it? Ritter's. And
As a food truck?
yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and because the only way, I haven't eaten there, right? But at the same time, it's that maybe they have to make so much money before they can afford. Westville's not cheap. So it's why not give them the opportunity to have success? And if they have a lot of success, it'll be something different than having a chain restaurant that, we all have. And I'm just throwing that out there for everybody to think about.
No, I agree. We need more restaurants in Westfield. So I'd love to help you guys. Just hope you have a plan, because if you keep coming back to the well, eventually I think it will probably dry
Yeah,
up
we're
for you
trying
guys.
to make that plan work for us as well, because we invest a lot of money there. So it's a big step to get so we're trying to see if we can achieve it.
Who you guys, are you working with the realtor or somebody to help you find a location, or?
No, with a realtor, we've been knocking the door.
Okay.
ourselves.
Hey, Caleb, could you help them and give them a few points of contact within the city? Because this is a tough market to find space in, and there are people out there who can help you guys with that.
Yeah, we can work on our resources and see what we can forward to them.
Councilors, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
I second that.
Motion made to approve the location of this food truck for the next 2 months, 3 days a week, by Councilor Patton, seconded by Councilor Fry. Marla, would you please call the roll?
Can I just say a word? I'm a friend of Larry's. We met at LA Fitness. And I went to the food truck and ordered a meal, and it was delicious. The truck was very neat. Larry is a person of initiative, and he likes things to be done right. And I was impressed with the cleanliness of it. And as far as food trucks go, I think he's doing an excellent job. And I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Marla?
Scott Willis.
Yes.
Cindy Spiljerik.
I'm going to have to say no, unfortunately. I wish I could say yes.
Mike Johns.
Yes.
Scott Fry.
Yes.
Troy Patton.
Yes.
Motion carries 4-1.
Okay, the next, thank you very
Congratulations.
much. Okay. Next item on our agenda this evening is a discussion of the sale of the Woodwind Golf Course. We first, and I'm going to just take the lead and just give a little bit of a background as to what we're looking at here. We first heard rumors in February that the Woodwind Golf Course might be up for sale. We asked our city attorney, Manny Herzog, to take a look into that. Kevin Todd, our Director of Community Development, and to consider the ordinance that was approved with respect to that golf course back in December of 2017 and January of 2018. It's our understanding and was confirmed by our legal department that based upon that ordinance, that the city had an opportunity to purchase the golf course for $2.5 million. And if it were ever sold, we would have an opportunity to purchase that at $2.5 million. That price, that was up until 2020, effective on, I believe, December 31st of 2020. The price then would be, there was an escalation clause that was part and parcel to by the CPI, as I recall. So there would be slightly over that amount. The last Thursday, I received a call from a concerned citizen saying that he had heard that in fact the golf course was sold. I haven't been able to confirm that at this time yet, but I'd like to bring it forth to the council to think about it. I've had some calls from several citizens who have asked that the city of Westfield invest in a golf course. Certainly would be one of our minor park investments as compared to Grant Park or our in-house 6-acre park across the street. So what I'd like to do is kind of open it up to discussion tonight as far as what are the thoughts of the council with respect to possibly purchasing this golf course as a city asset.
Does Doc O'Neill still run that? Does anybody know? Yeah?
Yeah, I believe it's Doc O'Neill and one other individual.
Cohope.
Cohope, yeah. The rumor that I heard was that it was being purchased by an out-of-country entity.
So what I know is that two members of the golf course have purchased it. I can't remember the exact purchase price, but I think it was around $2.5 million. So they're golfers with the intent of keeping it a golf course.
You're saying it's already been sold?
I don't know if they've closed on it, but an agreement has been reached on the course.
Would there have not been a recorded commitment with the ordinance that wouldn't allow that to happen at the county?
Yeah, there was. I think Kevin sent around February maybe. And the commitment was that there was an option to purchase unequivocally within the first year for $2.5 million. I forget when that was, 2018 maybe, around that time. And then, as Mike said, it was, the price went up with the right of first refusal being triggered by a notice to the city and the township that it was no longer being operated as a golf course. That's the triggering mechanism. Yeah. It's not the sale that's the trigger. It's the cessation of operation as a golf course that was the trigger in the commitment. So I don't know what the thinking was at that time or what, but it's not a typical right of first refusal that we would normally see, which is it's up for sale, so we get to step in. And you're right, it's based on some adjustment, based on CPI past 2020.
I was on APC at the time that was approved, and I didn't go through APC, I think it just went through the council, but I believe, if my memory serves me correct, we approved a density around that golf course that we had never intended to do. And this was a second or third attempt to get a development around that golf course. And I know Mr. Coho had mentioned that if this didn't pass of some development around the course, that he was gonna go belly up. And so I think conversations with people in the area agreed they wanted it to be a golf course. So we agreed to the zoning around this to create a more profitable venture for him, because every house built has an attachment to the golf course, just like a Bridgewater or a Chatham. And as a result, it made him viable, but the agreement was, if we're gonna do this, that if you couldn't make the course run and tried to sell it, the city would have the right to step in to keep it a golf course if the Coho and O'Neill agreement didn't work out and they were gonna try to redevelop it. It was just purely to protect it as a golf course, not necessarily for the city to take ownership of an entity like that.
I would assume those rights still go to the next buyer.
Correct.
I mean,
Yeah, correct. That runs with the land. So if the next buyer, 2 months from now, 5 months from now, 5 years from now, ceases operation, and that would be pretty, noticeable on a golf course, as you can imagine. Yes, that ROFR would kick in
yeah.
at the CPI adjustment.
And that would be the triggering mechanism.
That would be, yeah, so there are essentially two. The cessation of operation as a golf course is the main one, but there's a notice requirement as well, that if read very technically, they could withhold notice. I don't think that's viable. I think the trigger is the cessation of operation as a golf course.
Okay.
Would you recommend that we do anything at this point, if there is a transfer of ownership, just to, can we button this down and make it a little tighter on the new owners to make sure that they do have to let us know?
Yeah, I think one thing you could do is just to make everybody aware, if they're not already, again, of the requirement to send a short letter. It could be from Kevin even, and his department, to the listing brokers to make sure they share as part of the transaction along with the recorded commitments. I think that would be a wise move, frankly.
I'd recommend that the council agrees that we do that.
I think that's a good idea.
At the very least, yeah.
Manny, could you take charge and make sure that
Sure,
legalese is handled properly?
sure, no problem.
Thank you.
I think more importantly, it gets in the purchaser's hands that they understand the agreement. I mean, the Coho knows about it because they reached out to me, and I reached out to Kevin. If you remember, Kevin, you sent me the ordinance back, and I sent that to him, so he's very aware of the stipulations around that, but I don't know if it ever made it to the buyer, and that's where it really needs to be, in my opinion.
So in that case, Councilman, I'd recommend sending it to the brokers at Colliers.
That sounds
The
good.
two listed on the listing. And then if, through the grapevine, we found out who the potential purchasers are, you can pass it along. It's not confidential. It's going to be, we want to spread it.
I mean, my concern obviously is that it might sound, individuals might say, we want to buy this, we're going to keep it as a golf course, but all of a sudden, 6 months later, oh, it's up for sale, and we've got condos going in.
No, that's fair. Yeah, so we'll get it out. I mean, I'd like to get it out tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Kevin, is it workable? I can help with the.
Yeah, we can work through that. Just to piggyback off your last concern there, PUD does require that it either be a golf course or open space, right? That's a zoning requirement, not an outside commitment that we're talking about. That's a PUD zoning requirement. So they can't just come in and build additional houses if they want to without coming back and modifying the zoning, if that helps ease some concerns up there. Yeah.
I think that is the concern, that we'd like to maintain that open space within our city. Okay, moving on to then old business. We have one item of old business, ordinance 23-08, establishing a Department of Parks and Recreation and Board. This item had a council introduction on May 8th, and it is up for adoption consideration this evening. At this point, I've got some, oh, Mr. McDonald's here. Okay. Mr. McDonald, I was under the impression you weren't going to be here tonight, but
No, I got back from vacation on Saturday, so I absolutely was going to be here. So for the record, Chris McConnell, Parks and Recreation
Chris.
Superintendent for the City of Westfield. Yes, this is up for adoption tonight. As I said in introduction, the development or the implementation of a Parks Board and a Parks Department will help us twofold. Number one, it'll help better guide our efforts to provide quality of life amenities for the municipality as we grow. And number two, it will open an immense number of doors for new funding sources at the federal and state level that require there be a park board in place to qualify for those.
Council questions?
Are there fundings, opportunities that are out there right now that we're under a time constraint or anything of that nature?
We could qualify for land and water conservation funds this year for the Simon Moon project next year, but there's also a process that we need to go through. So we'll have to submit our 5-year master plan to the state to have it approved, and if there's changes that need to happen, it'll have to come back. We'll have to make those changes that would have to be approved by council and the board, and then go back to the state. So the longer we wait, the longer it will be before we qualify for those dollars.
The proposal as ordinance, as it's proposed, the composition of the board, is that by state statute, or is that just something that?
That is the way it is written in the code. In Indiana Code 3610-3, which is the code that governs the establishment of a Parks Board, as well as what Parks and Recreation departments do throughout the state.
So the 4 members and it appointed by the mayor and stuff, that is all, because I know some park boards have more than that.
Some do, and those, more often than not, those parks boards are county parks boards and township parks boards.
Or a combination there too?
Or a combination thereof, yes.
Okay.
And so sorry.
No, go ahead. Troy.
The only way we get the grants is we have to have a parks department?
We have to have a parks board and a parks department, yes, to qualify for those grants.
Can we not just have a parks board and no parks department?
I suppose that is an option. In a way, we already have a parks department. We are just not a standalone department. We are housed underneath Public Works.
Yeah, so that's what I thought, because we actually got rid of the parks department before. We used to have one as a city, and we got rid of it. And so I'm not certain that having a parks department is even necessary. Just to have, maybe we just have a parks board. That way we don't have redundancy of positions or things like that, and potentially. I don't know. I'm just thinking that through, but.
Yeah.
So just to clarify, we have never had a parks board. We did have a parks department. The parks department did not go away. It just, we combined resources with the public works department. So that staff, those dollars all pushed into a general maintenance fund for the city. So
Yeah, because Melody was in charge of it, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when Westfield Welcome kind of broke out on its own to focus on events and community engagement. And the maintenance operation of the city took over the parks department. We were getting into a situation where we were getting redundant equipment, redundant labor force, things like that. There's no intention to change how we operate today, other than we would have an established parks department with its own budget and et cetera. So the people that work in the parks department today, which are completely allocated to parks, will still be allocated to parks. Public Works will lend a hand of equipment and labor, as they always have for larger projects. But for day-to-day operations, it's Chris, and he's got 3 people plus a summer intern that work for him.
Yeah, I'm just thinking from a budgeting and operational standpoint, why you wouldn't just maintain what it is, allocate your resources appropriately, so that way we don't, as government, we don't continue to expand just because we can, and have it a whole different department, and before you know it, we have 8 people just in the parks department, and when they could have been doing other things and floating between the two. Because the allocation of resources, it's no different than every time we split off one division, and then all of a sudden it becomes its own body, and then now we're allocating additional monies to it, and we've done that with Grand Park, we've done that with Westfield Welcome and Communications, and we continue to expend resources maybe that aren't necessary, potentially. That's just my 2 cents worth.
Chris, do you have, or Jeremy, do you have an idea what this will do to next year's budget? Or as we go through the budget process in a month from now?
As far as I can tell right now, it wouldn't change that process or even that dollar amount, one way or the other. Whatever we ask for what we need to operate next year, whether we're under Public Works or we're a standalone division, that'll still be our ask. It'll just be, instead of being under this pot of money, it would be under a standalone pot of money.
Yeah. We did, and look, I mean, not that I want to put it off to, the potential next mayor, but I mean, maybe they should have more say in it. But, we did this with Grand Park where we weren't going to be redundant, and now all of a sudden we've loaded it back up on all our employees again at Grand Park. And so we're spending potentially $800,000 that we didn't really need to spend the first time. We could have operated Grand Park as is. And I'm not speaking for Scott. I mean, if he runs unopposed and he becomes the next mayor, maybe that's something that he wants to do. But frankly, I mean, from a fiscal standpoint, I think we've shown that we don't do a very good job of managing money as a government. And, that's why we end up spending more resources. So yeah, I'm probably against it, not that I don't want us to have a Parks Board. I think that's fine. I just,
I'm concerned with it right now with respect to the composition of that board. At this point, it looks like we've got, as written, there's 4 members that will be appointed by the mayor. And I would prefer that, I would like to have this council have some input into who those 4 members are. And I definitely could not support this without having that input into it. Okay. We've had an ongoing issue with the Preservation Commission that was approved by this council, and it was supposed to be filled by the mayor, the positions, and the mayor came forth, and of the positions, more than half the people that were selected had worked actively against establishing a Preservation Commission. And so at this point, we don't have that commission put in place because this council will not approve people who have no interest in preservation to be on a Preservation Commission. And it just seems to me, I'm afraid we're going down the same road here. And I don't want to go down that road.
I don't think anything changes, though. I mean, the council's still going to approve the budget.
Yeah.
The mayor's staff still makes decisions on parks and recommendations. So now the mayor, instead of having a staff that he leans on, he'll have a board. I don't think it changes anything. Not to mention, if we don't have this parks board, we don't have the option to apply for grants and funding that we currently don't have available.
Correct.
I don't want to be presumptuous because I may have an opponent in the fall and I may lose, but my vision long-term is to consolidate parks because right now the township trustee has parks, we have parks, they maintain a park, we maintain parks, and we want to consolidate all under one, roof, which would be the city. But this is a first step for that to happen. So
Absolutely.
not only does it fit the short-term vision, I think, of what the mayor's trying to accomplish, but long-term becoming a more efficient government where all the parks and having a strategy for the entire township, because we've seen what happens when we don't. We grow, land gets too expensive, and then parks aren't an option. I think this is a good first step in getting us where we want to be. I respect what you guys are saying, but that's...
Scott, I'm not against a Parks Board, and presumptively, if you're the next mayor, is what I would encourage you to do is have these people get together and say, hey, if the township and the city is going to come together and we're going to save money, show us both budgets of both and show us where we're going to save the money, and maybe you can get me on board, but I'm for the Parks Board. I'm not for the Parks Department until we show that we can do the efficiency part.
That's fair.
I guess I've got 2 issues tonight. First of all, I'd like to have a little bit more time to visit with my fellow councilors, with the city, to discuss the benefits of this. I'm not sure I understand it as well as I should. And secondly, I think it's a pretty important decision to be made, and I'd rather have that vote made when we have full council here and we don't have 2 of our members unavailable. So I would, if I can do this, I'd like to move to table the ordinance until our next meeting on June 26th.
I'll second that.
Marla, we had I guess, a motion made by myself.
Until
seconded
everybody's
by
here. Yeah.
Pat. Yeah, until everyone's here, to table this motion till June 26. Would you call the roll?
Mike Johns,
Yes.
Troy Patton,
Yes.
Scott Fry,
Yes.
Scott Willis,
Yes.
Cindy Spilcherik.
Yes.
Motion carries to table until June.
Thank you.
Can I ask one more question on that? And again, I want, Manny, I just want clarity. The appointment, that is absolutely state code, the way that it's drawn up there? Or is there flexibility in the appointment of the members?
I can send it to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
If we would consolidate with the township, does that change at all?
It adds membership.
And who determines that?
I don't know.
Would the township or,
Oh, we would add membership from the township.
okay, council wouldn't have a,
No. No, the composition of the board itself as a statutory creature remains as statutory prescribed.
thank you, appreciate that.
Sure.
Moving on to our next item, we move into the new business category. Ordinance 23-11, investment policy for the city of Westfield. This item has a council introduction this evening and will be up for adoption consideration on June 26th. And Marla Ayler from the clerk's office is going to give us an update and explain the ordinance.
Thank you, Counselor. It's a pretty standard ordinance, dare I say boilerplate, very similar to what we had previously, but what got codified was back in 2013. We have had a similar ordinance in the interim, but for some reason it did not repeal and replace the original one. So this will just allow the clerk treasurer to make investments as the clerk treasurer sees fit, within reason, of course, because it does follow the code and statutory duties and obligations. We cannot invest money without your approval for between 2 and 5 years, so that's kind of what this lays out. The ordinance will expire in 4 years once it's approved. However, it doesn't hinder or modify in any way the investments that are made at that time. Like if they weren't to mature until after this particular investment policy expires, those investments are still good until such time as whether the city's ready to become a second-class city and have a controller take over or what have you. But either way, it ensures that those investments could stay in a longer-term investment if that's the route we wanted to go. Right now, we're not really doing that. We have increased our investments very gratefully, about $16.3 million since May. So we're making a lot more investments, and I have talked to Jeremy. I have to get back with him, but we're looking to invest some of the RDC dollars, and that seems to be very agreeable. I'm just waiting for the new fund summary report to come out so we can put all that together. But we're very excited about making these investments on behalf of the city and the taxpayers. So that's kind of why we need it passed.
Thanks, Marla.
Sure.
Councilors, any questions this evening? Hearing none, we will look through it and look forward to considering for adoption in our next meeting.
Great.
All right, the next item this evening is ordinance 23-12, Bonterra PUD Amendment 1. This item had a council introduction this evening. It'll be up for APC public hearing on July 5th, wind up going, I'm sure, to the APC workshop, and will be up for adoption consideration at a later time. Ryan Collingwood from our Community Development Department is going to give us an insight into this ordinance.
Thank you, President. For the record, Ryan Collingwood with the Community Development Department. The item presented before you this evening is called the Bonterra PUD Amendment 1. The subject real estate is about 2.58 acres in size and is located at the northwest corner of the Bonterra PUD district, approved through Ordinance 21-16. This proposed amendment strictly refers to the parcel in which is highlighted in the location map exhibit, located just east adjacent to the existing Indiana Members Credit Union off State Road 32. The Bonterra PUD Amendment 1 proposal outlines additional land uses in which would be permitted to be developed on site, generally including restaurant and retail uses. The amendment also incorporates a concept plan in which ties the building on site to be substantially smaller in size to the one shown in Exhibit B of the proposed ordinance. Shannon Fletcher of Hartman Capital LLC is here tonight to provide additional details of the project proposal. She is available for questions, as am I, if you have any for staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilors, any questions of, oh, here we go. Thank you. Please, please, come on up.
I'm Scott Gumpel with Hartman Capital and the JSM Living Companies, and this is Shannon Fletcher. So appreciate you being here tonight. Yeah, basically, we just want to be available to answer any questions. I can give you a quick 45-second background on us and our involvement in the community to date and what we see going forward, if that's helpful.
Please, please do.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're a family-run company. We've been in business for about 50 years. We have our roots in Champaign, Illinois, but we're active now in Illinois, Indiana, and Florida. We have about 400,000 square feet of commercial space that we have acquired, developed, and we continue to manage. About 43,000 of that is in the northern Indy metro market. We have 4 projects already that we own that we've either acquired or developed, and so this would be our 5th. And one of those projects is actually here in Westfield. It's the Oak Ridge Center, which is on State Route 32, just this side of the public safety building, where I Heart Mac and Cheese is the physical therapy. Yeah, so if you're familiar with that building. One of the things that we have noted by owning that building is that there's a tremendous pent-up demand for commercial space within your community. It was sort of interesting, the food truck folks that were here at the beginning of the council meeting tonight. That was, I thought, pretty telling of what's going on. There was a period of time with that I Heart Mac and Cheese where they were transitioning from the franchisee to being a corporate store, and the space was dark for 3 or 4 weeks while that transition occurred. And we had maybe half a dozen calls a week, unsolicited, asking if, hey, I noticed the lights weren't on, is the space available? And so there's a tremendous pent-up demand in your community for commercial space, and we'd like to be able to help to meet that demand. Conversely, office space is a really difficult product to develop at this point in time. Really, there's been some fundamental changes within the real estate industry, changes in terms of how people approach office space, the need for office space, remote or hybrid remote work, all the technologies that are in place to support that kind of a different model of the office environment. Has put a lot of pressure on office space, and it's really not a style of development that is really viable at this point. Financing is really difficult for that kind of a product. And that's, as it's currently written, the PUD really is limited to that kind of a use, office use. So our ask through this amendment is a relatively tightly written series of uses in the retail and food service areas that would be allowed within this building. Our intent, other than that amendment to the PUD, is to develop per all the other PUD requirements that are in place, the Unified Development Ordinance and the State Route 32 Overlay District. So we won't be asking for any variances or accommodations on any of those items, other than just to be able to accommodate these uses.
Thank you. Sounds good. Councilors, any questions?
A few. The intensity of the uses that you are prescribing, the reason that it was chosen as needing to be office there was due to it is adjacent to what is already basically office next door, the bank and then the different offices to the west. And then this is all built residentially right there.
Behind it is.
Yes, exactly. And so there is concern how, major retail use would interact with that, including the traffic, and having those curb cuts on 32. And it's really sad that we can't figure out something with the credit union to have just the one curb cut there to make that accessible and not have the additional drives.
Sure.
And so when you factor all these things in, it concerns me because we wouldn't know exactly what's going in there and the traffic that it would entail.
Of course. Well, one of the things that might help, and maybe put a little bit of ease in your mind about it, we're not anticipating introducing any curb cuts onto State Route 32. We're going to work with the roads that were already developed as part of the PUD. So the access to our site would be internal to those roads. So that should help that.
On the back side there?
Actually, from both the east and west sides.
Yeah. Okay.
Concept plan might actually show that. There you go.
Okay, yeah, all right.
There you go. So State Route 32 is to the north on this. And then that higher density residential is to the rear of us. And then there is still remaining one parcel to the east that would still be subject to the general office limitation.
So you're not taking down both of those, just
No,
the
just,
one?
just the westernmost of the two parcels, the two outlots effectively that were there. And we've been, I believe, successful in the past of trying to be sensitive to those kinds of things. We're really aggressive about the design of the buildings. You know, we don't have a front and a back. The finishes of our materials wrap all the way around. We're really aggressive about screening the utilities and the support infrastructure that's associated with retail. We're very successful with that with the building. We just finished in Fishers, just came online about 3 or 4 months ago now. We're about half rented there, but it backs up to some residential, and I think we were really successful between the landscaping and some of the architectural elements to really reduce that impact.
Any other comments, councilors? Well, we look forward to you presenting it to the APC on July 5th.
Wonderful.
And to seeing it back here, hopefully by September. So,
We're anxious.
thank you so
sir.
much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Next item this evening is the AED station interlocal agreement with Westfield. And I believe that Kayla Arnold, our Director of Westfield Welcome, is going to present this item to us this evening. Kayla?
Good evening. You have in front of you an interlocal agreement with the Hamilton County Health Department for them to grant us $20,000 to complete the purchase of 4 AED save stations that will be located along the Monon and Midland Trails, as well as at Grand Junction Plaza. You may remember in February, we launched an initiative to do some crowdfunding for that as well. So we've crowdfunded approximately $2,400 and then have received a grant of the purchase of the AEDs from Bolt for the Heart. So with this interlocal agreement, we will be able to complete all pieces and be able to have those AED stations installed later this summer. Happy to take any questions.
Council questions?
Motion to approve?
Do I have a second? Motion made by Councilor Spaljerik, and I believe seconded by Councilor Willis. Would you call the roll, please?
Troy Patton?
Yes.
Scott Willis?
Yes.
Cindy Spaljerik?
Yes.
Sorry. Mike Johns?
Yes.
Scott Fry?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kayla. All right. That pretty much concludes the body of our meeting this evening. Kevin, do we have any citizens who would like to address?
Yep. Yeah, we do. At the moment, I have 4 cards.
Okay.
So the first one, Joey Mayer.
Okay. And I would remind everybody that we have 3 minutes, and so if you can keep your comments to that would be wonderful.
I'm afraid to use this microphone because I've got a really loud voice. I'm tempted to just shove it out of the way and talk, but.
Thank you.
I'll keep timers, so I'll just kind of wave at you.
Okay, so if you guys are like, start going like this, I'll know that I need to back away from the microphone. So, hi, council. My name is Joey Mayer, and I wanted to speak on the Venezuelan cheap meal truck approval. I'm thrilled that you actually did that, and I really appreciate that Ms. Spaljerik said about equity, but I like bringing different cultures to the community. People think we're really homogenous because everything looks the same, so anything that introduces additional culture I think is a great thing, so thank you for doing that. My family has lived in Westfield for 20 years, and in that time we've seen explosive growth. We were once a sleepy suburb, and now we are a full-blown city, and this has been really exciting to see. As we continue to grow, it's vital that we actively keep our focus on Westfield's founding principles. We were founded by Quakers who almost 200 years ago already understood and embraced inclusion. Our demographics are changing not only in residents, yet also in visitors coming here to dine, attending events at Grand Park, and working at companies that are headquartered here. So they need to not only hear the city motto of Westfield Welcome, but see it and feel it. Visitors need to feel safe. Corporate companies need to see that they can recruit the best and brightest in the world, and they will be embraced by the community for who they are. So removing posts that acknowledge members of our community and justifying it as the city and government, quote, should not engage in supporting a social agenda is wrong and negatively impacts the city. I know that was none of your decisions. I don't know how you feel about it, but then honestly for me, To claim to not support a social agenda and then invite a man who thrives on pushing a social agenda in the most polarizing way possible by inviting him to lead the invocation this evening feels hypocritical and frankly laughable. The most basic requirement of any public official is to embrace and understand they represent all their constituents, not just those that may look like them or that they identify with. To do otherwise is a disservice to us all. I'm going to tell you, I sat in this meeting and I did not feel that that is the motivation behind any of your work tonight. So thank you for that. But I do call upon the other elected officials to publicly acknowledge the mayor's misstep and affirm that they are indeed supportive of all taxpayers and residents in this city, including our LGBTQ plus community members. So thank you.
Thank you.
Jennifer Hill.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Hill, and I have been a resident of Westfield for almost 9 years. I'm speaking today also about the Pride post that was posted on Thursday, June 1st, and then within hours was removed. I wanted to express my concern about the removal of the post. Within the few hours the post was up, it had an incredible amount of positive and supportive interactions, including many positive comments and shares. And from a quick glance at the government's Facebook page, it had more interactions than almost all other recent posts on the page. As a longtime ally to the LGBTQ plus community, I was so proud that the city I live in was stating that their support for all of its citizens. Seeing how popular and positive this post was, it showed how supportive the Westfield community is as well. Then, sadly, the post was removed on account of Mayor Andy Cook feeling as though the city's Facebook page isn't the place to make posts that address social issues. I'd like to point out that there have been posts about Mother's Day, Earth Day, Black History Month, and even National Donut Day, which I'm unclear why these are not considered social issues as well. As city council members, I would like to see a public statement supporting Pride Month and the LGBT community within Westfield, as so many of the Westfield community does. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Sarah Cruz.
Hello. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak. My name is Sarah Cruz. I'm a 15-year resident of Westfield. I'm also a parent of an LGBTQ child. And I will tell you, when I saw the post on Thursday, June 1st, celebrating Pride Month, it made me feel very accepted. It made my family feel accepted. And when it was later removed, it made me feel like we were not wanted here and that we don't belong here. So I am here telling you as a parent, as a Westfield resident, that I'm very disappointed at Mayor Cook's decision to remove the post. And I'm here to also talk to the council about how I'm concerned that we call ourselves a progressive city, but then we're going to remove a post celebrating citizens of this city. I'm concerned that we will not be able to attract businesses. I'm concerned that we will not be able to attract teachers, city workers such as police officers, firefighters, and I am asking the council to, 1, reinstate the Pride post, and number 2, to create a council, a diversity council, where you can consult with citizens, diverse citizens of Westfield on matters such as this. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Just FYI, you know, we can't post it on the city's site. You said the council should do it. We can't do it.
I would ask that you speak to the mayor about that.
I think people have, so.
Kevin.
All right, the last card I have is Elizabeth Anderson.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm Elizabeth Anderson, and I'm here tonight to voice my disappointment in regards to 2 instances that help highlight a pattern of resistance by Westfield leadership to better understand and support people of the LGBTQ community. One is the hurtful removal of the city's social media post showing solidarity for members of the Westfield LGBTQ community. This community deserves to be visible and feel welcome. LGBTQ friends and neighbors who did ask for the recognition appreciated it, and the process of squashing the solidarity was hurtful. The lack of consideration for what the post meant and what this removal would mean are part of the hurtful pattern. The second reason is the invitation of a pastor to lead a prayer during Pride Month who is actively on the county board marginalizing the LGBTQ community and running to be an elected official statewide in a statewide office on issues intentionally directed at further marginalizing members of the LGBTQ community. I do hear that inviting Mr. Beckworth to speak during Pride Month was an oversight, but the lack of vision about how it would affect others in the community is the problem. We're giving a person who is actively working to marginalize an already marginalized community's presence an invitation while we can't even tolerate a social media post acknowledging this marginalized group exists. Prayer, a sacred moment that is intended to benefit and unite all. An even more unintended consequence is how this particular situation fuels the criticism that prayer itself has no place in government function. Mr. Beckworth, our city council members, our mayor, and each member of our community is entitled to their own beliefs, but it's our elected officials' job to represent all of our community, to take the time to understand the issues people face and how our government and its choices impact them. People are not a social agenda. Community is not a social agenda. In this instance, religion is being used as a social agenda. Our LGBT community and Westfield as a whole deserve better. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a fifth card.
Okay.
Brian Ayers.
Good evening. My name is Brian Ayers. I've been a resident here of Westfield for 3 years. Came here tonight to address the city's removal of the social media post recognizing Pride Month and all our LGBTQ+ residents. I'm disappointed that Mayor Cook isn't here to hear the feedback of our community, but I do appreciate the opportunity to be heard. Recently, Mayor Cook called recognizing LGBTQ+ people as supporting a social agenda. The last time I checked, my identity as a trans person has never been and will never be political or part of a social agenda, just as my identity as a Marine Corps veteran has never been a political affiliation or an agenda. In 2023, we should be able to celebrate our community members. The vast majority of Hoosiers support equality for all, which very much includes the LGBTQ+ community. As somebody who came to Westfield to build community for myself and my family, the removal of the social media post sends a very clear message that we're not welcome. And the invitation of our invocation leader certainly does not help paint a welcoming image to our LGBTQ+ community members. I hope to see the city recognize each of our unique identities as residents of Westfield now and in the future. I understand that the city council cannot do that, but we very much may have a future mayor in this room. I also hope to see that other city leadership, whether in your personal elected positions or as a city council or in whatever capacity, speaks out to demonstrate that our community is welcoming and representative of every resident. And if the city wishes to have a social media presence, let's ensure that we are recognizing everyone, not just someone. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard.
Thank you.
Just so you guys know, Chris Proffitt's in the back. I mean, he's the communications director. You all can talk to him too. I mean.
Bonnie, you're next.
Hello, my name is Bonnie Serber. I've been a member of the community for 6 years. And my point is this. The council, I assume one of your objectives is to promote transparency to the community. And I just want to point out that the excuse that Mayor Cook used to take the post down was, and I quote, he felt strongly that the government should remain neutral on all social issues. Later he stated, I feel the city should not engage in supporting a social agenda, and as such, I directed the post to be removed. If that was true, that Mayor Cook actually did feel strongly that government should remain neutral on social issues and should not engage in supporting a social agenda, then why were the following Facebook posts posted and remain on the Facebook page for the city of Westfield? Election Day was promoted. Earth Day was promoted. National Library Workers' Day was promoted in an environment where books are being banned right now, so that is definitely a social issue. Holocaust Remembrance Day is a social issue. There are people in our country, unfortunately, that don't even believe that the Holocaust happened. That is a big social issue, especially in light of the fact that we had Nazi flags in Disney World over the weekend. The community prayer breakfast that promoted religion and social issues. International Women's Day, which let me tell you more about International Women's Day and what that origin was. The founder of this day was Clara Zetkin, the leader of the Women's Office for Social Democratic Party in Germany. The purpose was, on that day, every country should set aside time to allow women to press for their demands. How could that post not be characterized as a social issue and promoting social issues? In addition, Dr. Martin Luther King Day was promoted, and the controversial COVID vaccine was also promoted on the Westfield Facebook page. Now, I personally have no problem with any of those things being posted, but what I do have a problem with is the fact that the mayor said he will not allow social issues to be put on the Facebook page. So I'm asking the council to please push back on the mayor. Put this on your own social media pages, because we're all watching.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it.
I think if he was here, he'd tell you that we push back on him quite a bit.
I would say we do.
Publicly, though, that would have been really risky. I'm not doubting you, but I'm just saying, you know, if you would have done it yourselves, that would have made people that were.
I don't even hardly talk to the guy, to be quite honest, so, I mean, it's just.
Kevin, do we have any more cards?
We have two more at the moment. Riley, is it Spiller? Thanks.
First, I want to thank you for allowing us all to sit here and speak. I also want to start by saying I understand that these are all very repetitive. You may not understand the importance that this has, but I'm going to share my current situation with you. My name is Riley Spiller, and Westfield is my hometown. I was born and raised here. I've lived here my entire life. I graduated here. Every single one of my friends were made here, and I've even begun to start my own family here. I am marrying the love of my life over there in less than 3 months. And this is supposed to be the most exciting time of our lives, which it is. But we have found ourselves stressed about the future. Yes, we're stressed about our finances, putting a down payment on a home, preparing to have kids. But now we're stuck with the question of, are we wanted here? Should we be planning our getaway before it's too late? It's been a hot discussion in our house, even before the post. I've lived in this community my entire life. I've seen the strong support and the connections that have been made here. Yet when the city makes a post that shines light on families like mine, and then gets taken down, it makes for a very hard argument in my own house for us to stay here. Where I'd love to say that there's a chance that my children will grow up in the same place I did. My family deserves to be in a community that supports and uplifts us, and is willing to tackle the hard conversations in the public eye and support all residents. I urge everyone here to think about the friends, families, and neighbors that have begun to feel truly unwelcome in their hometown. I'm sharing my story because there are many families that are in a very similar, if not the same position as mine. And so I want to end this with just 3 questions.
One, how do I know moving forward that my family is truly protected here in Westfield? Two, what will the city do to show their support and willingness to learn and understand the history of not only Pride, but your LGBTQ plus residents? And lastly, how can you convince my family and others like mine to stay? Thank you.
Matthew, I'm sorry, Kurtner? Great, thanks.
Hi guys, thank you so much for having me. I'm here to discuss the Pride post as well, so I'm sorry the redundancy, but I'm just expressing to you some of the frustrations that me and the fellow community members have felt, specifically allies and within the LGBT community as well. So I'm a young person who was born and raised here, graduated college, moved back from college to start a career and family here as well. To say I'm disappointed would be an understatement. Local government has a duty to be representative of all walks of life. And, sorry, I'm nervous. This month is a very prideful one for those who identify as LGBT. I'm so sorry. And people who live here should feel safe, and they should feel like they have their community leaders and their whole community standing behind them as well. This breaks my heart, knowing I don't have a community and some people in leadership who don't fully support those who are in vulnerable minority population groups, such as the LGBT community. And for you to dial back on your support and to delete a post speaks volumes and implies a lot, specifically a lack of representation for people who need it during this hard time. While I'm not surprised that intolerances and ignorances still reside in our community and even leadership, in my perspective, a simple solidarity, acknowledgement, and allyship such as a post shouldn't be as big of a deal as some people made it out to be. A post is a post at the end of the day, and supporting people who need to be uplifted and heard in such a trying time, and specifically a conservative community, it goes a long way, trust me. I don't feel represented, even at this meeting, and I keep track online. I still don't feel represented, and I'm sure there's other people that still feel that same way. A post is a post, like I said. I am very sad, and I know that you council members did not have a say in taking down the post, but I know that was mostly on Andy's behalf. But I feel that if you guys can speak on our behalf and be more allyships or provide education or some form of just representation as a whole, that would be and go a long way, more than you guys think and know. Lastly, I, like many others and allies, LGBT families, want to start a career, live here. I love living here. I love the development that's happening. But to not feel safe, to not feel supported is, it's really hard. So thank you.
Thank you. Kevin, any additional cards? Okay. Before we do the clerk treasurer comments, why don't we have city council comments this evening? Councilors?
I would like to say something. And I let Mike know ahead of time that I did want to say something tonight, especially about Pride Month. You know, and Pride Month is recognized around the world in a multitude of countries now. It's a big deal, and it's a big deal for the LGBTQ community, but also for those who need to learn more and who need to understand and support. And so that's what this is a time to have those discussions, to understand what you're feeling. And it breaks my heart today to hear that you guys don't feel welcome here. That's not right. And I 100% support you. I have represented all members of this community respectfully, the best I could for almost 12 years now. And this is like the first time I'm hearing, though, that your community is not feeling safe, included, welcome. And again, that breaks my heart. And so if I can help, you let me know, and I'd like to help. Thanks.
I would just piggyback upon the words of Councilor Spiljerek. I have not heard from anyone in this building or anyone from the LGBTQ community over the last 3.5 years. So it breaks my heart to think that you feel unsafe in this community or that you feel unwelcome. I am so proud as a member of the community of the history of Westfield and the history of the Underground Railroad, and being what I feel and always have felt is the #1 community in the state of Indiana with respect to being diversified and welcoming all people. And I know that this board feels the same way. And I assure you, we have nothing to do with either posting or unposting, but I can assure you that our feelings would be in support of a diversified, welcoming community.
I want to thank both of you for speaking up. But the one thing I want you to think about, what I want everybody to think about, is the community that didn't speak up. That should indicate to you how unsafe they've always felt. That they didn't feel safe enough, that they didn't feel like where you stood to approach you to ask for that support. That happens with a lot of marginalized people, and I, like you, might feel like this city's origin is so valuable and wonderful and something we should really be proud of. But in the past, 30 years, long before you guys were here, hopefully not long after you've all moved on, is there. And Cindy, I've seen you doing outreach. It's tough to be an ally because I'm not personally experiencing a lot of this stuff. All I can do is be empathetic and try to help stand beside these people. But I think that again, it's indicative that people didn't feel comfortable approaching and sharing this with you. And I'm not putting that on your shoulders. I'm just saying it's a lot of things in the environment that people just didn't know. So thank you for saying what you did.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Really
Go ahead,
appreciate it.
Scott. You have anything?
I've got nothing.
I have something on the finance side.
Okay, fine, yeah.
Okay.
Different issue. Council comments.
Okay, sorry. So I'm just going to move it back to the finance side. On the budget season, we have the couple things just to think about. I think it was this time last year, I met with Steve Latour, Kurt Weitzel, and Dan Moyer about the government spending money on the DWA. And they spent a bunch of money on plans for downtown. We asked to see that. It was about a year ago, and for some reason, they just can't seem to give it to everybody, even though the government spends $100,000 on things. For some reason, we just can't seem to get that information from them. I think that's something to take a hard look at in the budget this year. I'm pretty disappointed in Steve, Kurt Weitzel, and Dan Moyer for not bringing that to us, as they promised they would, actually, in about 2 different meetings. And seeing as how we're the ones, taxpayers, all of us, contribute to these things, and I'm pretty sure it's more than a party on Main Street or whatever, having a dinner and helping out certain individuals in the city. Again, I mean, we're all taxpayers, all our dollars spend the exact same way, and I'd like to see where they go, personally. Number 2, when we talk about the budget, health insurance, Jeremy, I'd like to see where we're at. I want to see all the bids. I think there's 3 people possibly that I've sent another group to you guys on the health insurance. If we can save $1 million, that'd be great. If we can save $500,000, that would be great. Whatever that is, I'd hate to see another excuse like last year where we don't put the money in and save the taxpayers the dollars. And then probably number 3 is, again, from communications to Westfield Welcome or whatever we're doing there, I think we need to sharpen our pencils a bit and really focus in on the budget. As far as all of you, thank you all for all speaking. I think everybody's voice is equally as important as the next person, whether people say it openly or not. I don't care who, what, or when, or why people do whatever they want to do, as well as even my own kids. It's just, I'm happy to be a part of anybody and everybody's lives, so. Yeah, that's all I have.
Okay.
I need to give the APC update too at some
Yes,
point.
please, why don't you go ahead?
Unless, did the clerk treasurer have comments? I'm sorry.
We'll do the clerk treasurer.
Unless you guys have some questions, we've got nothing tonight. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Marla. APC report.
The APC did meet June 5th, and on the consent agenda, we had 5 detailed development plans. We had Heart Point Church daycare building. We had the Holiday Inn Express on the southwest corner of 31 and 191st. Wheeler Landing Hotel near Grand Park Boulevard and north of Tournament Trail. So again, that's 2 new hotels coming. The Hamilton Memorial Cemetery, they're doing an accessory structure and a building addition. And the Wheelhouse Apartments Phase 2, which is at the southeast corner of Virginia Rose Avenue and Grand Park Boulevard. And then we also held the public hearing for the Claiborne Farms PUD Phase 2. It's part of the Kimblewick development at Town Road and 156th. And we'll be having the workshop meeting for that next week?
Yes.
Not next week. Oh, we're waiting until July. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Kevin. That's it.
Okay. Other comments? Manny, any comments? All right. Before we close the meeting tonight, first of all, personal issue this past week. I had occasion to have to call our police department. And I would like to personally thank Officer Preston Howard. He's been on the force for 2.5 years. We had a situation in my neighborhood where we had a hydro seed contractor stealing water from our pond. And it sounds kind of funny, doesn't it? Stealing water from a pond. Well, when you've got a rather shallow pond, you spend a lot of money treating it to keep the algae out of it, and you find someone there, and oh, this is his second load because he had done one an hour before, and so 2,400 gallons of water out of the pond, and Officer Howard was able to diffuse the situation, and he wrote up a report. The contractor decided to make retributions for what he had done and compensation for our HOA, which is nice. So I really would like to thank the Westfield Police Department for acting as quickly as they did. Johnny on the spot, if you would. I'd also point out to Jeremy Lowther that apparently it is the practice of these folks to take water. They apologize. They were supposed to go take it out of the pond by goodwill and just happened to come to our neighborhood instead. So just FYI, it's a modus operandum. The other thing is I really would like to thank all of you for attending tonight. It's really nice to see all these faces. I will share with you that during the course of 3.5 years up here, typically we see the same faces week after week. We get to know them personally. We love them. We know their personalities. We see them on the street. We're friends. But it's nice to see a new group of folks. And thank you so much for attending this evening. And your words, I'm sure, have been heard by this group anyway. So thank you. And with that, we'll close this evening's meeting.